As I mentioned, this spans 8 different supply chains supporting 1,600 weapon systems. I think is important to also recognize that although we are very focused on support to the ground warfighter, we haven't lost sight of our important role in supporting the Navy and the Air Force. And so, you know, we also are intensively focused on the maritime and aviation domains as well. So, you know, moving on here, you can see the picture here of the latest version of the MRAP. This is the all-terrain vehicle that is built by Oshkosh Defense and is designed for use in Afghanistan. Had the opportunity to go up to Oshkosh a month or so ago and visit the factory and actually drive one. And I must say that having driven earlier MRAPs that truly drove like trucks, I was very impressed with the MATV. A lot of power, the independent suspension system. The thing will literally go anywhere. So it's a needed enabler for the support of the troops on the ground in Iraq. DLA has been working hand in glove with Oshkosh in identifying the items of supply that will be needed to support this weapon system, and specifically to ensuring that those are on the ground in Afghanistan as the MATV begins to arrive in significant numbers. And they are now basically pouring into Afghanistan. Oshkosh is well on the way to a production rate of 1,000 per month. Moving on to, you know, subsistence and clothing. This is obviously another very important element of DLA support with particular emphasis in Afghanistan and Iraq. When you look at the troop buildup, obviously we've been at work for a number of months building up the sustainment supplies for the troops and looking at across the country where we have those supplies located, and I think that we're in very good shape to handle the inflow of troops there. Another important element is construction materials as we build out the base infrastructure in Afghanistan, and I know that a number of you in the room have probably had an opportunity to visit there, but it truly is unlike most other places in the earth, very austere. Little infrastructure, dirt roads, frequent insurgent attacks, landmines everywhere, and so a very, very challenging area to operate from a logistics perspective. Particularly challenging from the standpoint of transportation, so we work very closely with both U.S. Central Command and U.S. Transcom to move material in by both surface and air. One of the things that we have worked very closely with Transcom on over the last 10 months is opening additional ground lines of supply from the north, something we call the Northern Distribution Network that flows through the Central Asian states. And this is proving to be a critical enabler in moving much of the construction supplies, portable buildings, that sort of thing, into Afghanistan. Another function that has been important to get going with in Afghanistan is reutilization and disposal of unneeded materials and equipment, and particularly being able to demilitarize or take sensitive pieces of equipment like MRAPs that are battle damaged and reduce them to a form where they are unusable by the enemy. So we are well on our way to opening reutilization sites in Kandahar and soon in the forward operating base Leatherneck the Marines are operating out of in the southern region of the nation. We already have a full-up operation at the Bagram Airfield in the northern part of the country. I would add over in Iraq, this is actually a very critical and growing mission as we process all of the unneeded equipment and material that is coming out of Iraq. And so this has been a particularly sensitive area and challenge as we have done our part to support the responsible drawdown. The next illustration is of the medical supply chain. Of course, we provide the pharmaceuticals that are needed across the armed forces as well as much of the medical equipment. And this is obviously a vital area given the increased combat operations that will be occurring in Afghanistan. You know, fuel is also a critical readiness enabler, and our Defense Energy Support Center is the global manager of energy for all of the armed forces. And I think it's been a huge success story, frankly, in Afghanistan, because the fuel basically ultimately ends up being trucked into the country. Comes from the north over rail, but from Pakistan over roads through the mountains. And as all of you know, aviation in particular is a huge consumer of fuel, and fuel has never been a limiter to any of the military operations in Afghanistan. We're hard at work to increase stockage levels on the ground to support the increased troop size and the associated equipment, both ground equipment and aviation equipment. You know, another critical area of support is distribution. There's a very mature distribution capability in Iraq. We're repositioning and downsizing that in anticipation of the withdrawal of U.S. forces that will occur in the spring and early summer of next year. In Afghanistan, we're working on establishing an on-the-ground capability. And I think that was probably one of the sort of key findings from my most recent visit, is the urgent need to have a DLA distribution capability on the ground in Afghanistan. And so we're hard at work in bringing a facility to life in the southern region at Kandahar that can provide that backup support to Army and Marine Corps units in the months ahead. We'll be leveraging our existing distribution center over in Kuwait. So it'll be kind of a synergistic relationship between those two operations to support the forces there. You know, much like support to, let's say, the non-deployed force that I talked about, DLA continues to have an important role in support of U.S. Northern Command and FEMA for disaster relief in the United States. We've exercised our capabilities there a number of times in recent years, whether it was hurricanes along the Gulf Coast or even most recently with the disaster relief efforts in American Samoa. So that is an important capability that DLA has, and we leverage that as needed to support, to provide support outside the U.S. Department of Support. So I would say that warfighter support is clearly our primary mission. That is the reason that DLA exists. But as I mentioned up front, we're also very mindful of our stewardship responsibilities. And I think we have a quick video here from Ms. Nancy Heimbaugh, our Director of Acquisition Management for the agency, highlighting what we're doing to enhance our stewardship role.
In order to achieve acquisition excellence, there are several areas that we focus on. The first is that the majority of our products and services that we provide are based upon competition. In addition to that, we award our contracts using best value to our taxpayer and best value to our warfighting partner. Pricing is also a very important area that we stay focused on day in and day out. In addition to ensuring that those prices are fair and reasonable, we have a very strong structure in place to ensure that the pricing and other performance requirements that are established in our contracts are indeed achieved. These are all facets of acquisition excellence and serve as a cornerstone to stewardship.